All right. So before we get to this, I will be granting presenter rights to each one on your time to talk. So you can just place the slides, and then I'll remove your presenter permissions and assign to the next person, and so on. I'm also counting the time here. So after 3 minutes, you need to finish your presentation so we can fit everybody here. I'll be showing on my camera when you have 1 minute to go. Unfortunately, the camera is mirrored, so I'm not sure if you're going to see the same as I'm seeing. And then the finish one, which is for you to conclude. I guess it's basically just about keeping track of time. So another thing I want to mention to everybody who is here, mentors and students, is that the second evaluation of Google Summer Code opened just now, today at 6 UTC, and is going to go all the way to Friday. So please go as soon as possible to the Google Summer of Code dashboard and file your second evaluation. This is very important for interns to receive the first part of their payment, and for us to move forward to the final part of Google Summer of Code this year. All right, so the first presenting. So I'll grant you presenter rights, and you'll be able to change the slides.
Hello. Hello, everyone. My name is Advait Rawat. I am from Japan, and I'll be presenting my project or the work I did on GNOME games this year, GSOC 2020. I'm being mentored by Alexander. I'm not gonna say his second name, not gonna butcher his second name. And he's been a very helpful guide across this whole event, I would say. Given that my major is not computer science, it's electronics, so there were many times when I asked some stupid questions, which I am really grateful for. And I hope that he keeps helping me throughout this event. So starting with GNOME Games. GNOME Games is an emulator front end for console games, which allows people to play retro console games such as Asteroid, or I play Zelda games usually, or some other games on their laptop and/or/PC Linux system. And usually games work quite well, but sometimes these games require very specific proprietary BIOS files, which are also called firmware files. And the thing is, when you're trying to add these firmware files, you have to go through this normally, or without the thing I'm working on. If it's not implemented, this would be the user's process of adding the feature, or not exactly the feature, the implementing the firmware. They would have to go to the config files, then find their platform. If the platform exists, good. If it does not, then make a platform folder which needs to match the internal or the identifier that's in the code. Then in that folder, make a systems directory and copy their firmware files. So if you usually do that, that's as it sounds, it's quite annoying, and it's the user would have to start other debuggers to actually configure or actually figure out if it's actually working or not. So what I'm doing is trying to make a UI similar to this. It's still under works, and it would make this process a lot more easier for the user. Things that I want to do more. Mostly I've done the backend. What I need to do more, or what I would like to do in the project more, is to add translator support to the firmware titles. As you can see, for example, the Atari 7800 is UI title, but it's in a desktop file which is not translatable. So I want to make that translatable and also add drag and drop support. Thank you.
Great, you finished with 10 seconds to go. Good job. So I will assign the next presenter. Yes. So the next presenter can continue.
I guess that's me. Felipe, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Yeah, that's you.
All right. So if I click the slide advances, right? Okay. Hi, my name is Andrei, and this years I have been working on Epiphany during Google Summer of Code. Epiphany is also known as GNOME Web, which is a web browser, a GNOME-flavored web browser. Okay. I'm trying to get an... Oh, so I have to click here. Okay, figured it out. There was a button there. All right. So my two mentors for this project were Michael Catanzaro and John Michael Brumer. The GNOME Web maintainers. I'm the student. And I also received extra help from the previous project's mentor, Alexander. I'm also not going to try to pronounce his second name. Safe to say he's Russian. All right. So the main thing I have worked on during the past month is history selection mode. The selection mode is a really common pattern throughout GNOME apps. It can also be seen. I have inspired my particular implementation of the selection mode from GNOME boxes. It's a pattern used for manipulating items in a list or in a grid. You can select multiple items and do several things on those items. The actual implementation of the selection mode has differed since this screenshot was taken, but safe to say the principle is the same. Another less visual aspect I worked on was doing small improvements to the preferences dialog, mainly splitting the source code files and adding some mobile friendly enhancements. In this slide, I have illustrated the difference. The little mobile-friendly touch-ups can be seen. There's a back button on the top left. There's a clear all button that has been moved down to the bottom left. And also this dialog. This is a dialog. Actually, this is a dialog for deleting website data. It has been nested inside the preferences dialog. There are no more dialogs spawning on top of other dialogs from the preferences dialog. And this was about it. These were all the changes that I worked on. Oops, sorry. I should not have done that. All right, thanks a lot for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. Good luck to the next presenter and enjoy the rest of your summer. Bye-bye.
Thank you. I also like to mention that Andrei is our intern for the second time, so we are glad to have you back. So let's continue with the third presenter. Let me find you on the list. Oh, I don't see the third presenter on the list.
My name starts with A.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. So please, you can continue. Let me make you presenter first. Yeah, there we go.
Am I having a slide change button?
Now you should. They are in the bottom of the slide.
Okay, right. Next slide. Cool. Yeah. Okay, so hello everyone. I'm Apurv Sachan, GSOC student for GNOME, and my mentor is Antonio Fernandez. Our project is porting Nautilus properties dialog to use GTK Builder. So starting with a little bit of history. So on my left, I have the old properties dialog from an older version of Nautilus, and towards my right, I have the current look of the properties dialog. So basically, we see that they convey the same information, but with a different design, telling us with time, design changes. So for the Nautilus project as a whole has moved ahead in terms of design, but the design of properties dialog has sort of stuck in its past. But why is it so? The reasons being its current code implementation. It's like a complicated circuit box where you cannot change one thing without getting in the way of another. The business logic and the UI logic is totally intertwined with each other. And the code assumes a particular UI design, which leaves very less space for re-implementation and remodeling, which makes all this very difficult to debug and difficult to redesign and re-implement. So what's the solution to this? Is WYSIWYG. That is, what you see is what you get. Just the way it sounds, Glade is a WYSIWYG editor which lets you drag and drop widgets into the UI and build it, and lets you see lets you see how it will look even before the code has been built. It makes use of XML. It makes use of XML to represent the UI, and all that's left to be done while coding is binding the data to the widgets. So that makes it very easy. So what are the troubles it saves us? So finally, you can be a coder, not an archaeologist. You don't have to dig out properties of widgets from deep down from within complicated functions and then do it. So it allows individual control on individual widget styling, etc., and it becomes easy to redesign. So as a proof of concept, after the existing design has been ported to use GTK Builder, all it takes is 5 minutes of time to get the design on our right hand side. So which would have been very difficult with an earlier implementation. So future of the project will be changing the appearance of the properties dialog to stick more closely to the human interface. Thank you.
Good job. Let's go for the next one. Okay, so now you should be presenter.
Hi, am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay, so hi, I'm Chenmay, and this summer I'll be working on GNOME Music to add support for remote sources, and I'm mentored by John Felder, and during this process, John Felder and Marina Schral has helped me a lot. So thanks to those guys. So let's moving on. So my project goals. So mainly I'll be adding support for the two sources. The first one is DLNA source and the other one is DAB source. And after adding the support for those sources, I'll be redesigning the search view so that music can filter the media based on the sources. So why do we need this feature, or what are the benefits of the project? So let's start with what's a media server. So a media server is basically a computer that can be used to share files in a LAN, so that the other devices that are connected to the LAN can use those files, or play or access those files. So, the two very common types of media servers are, examples of media servers are DLNA and DAP servers. The difference between DAP and DLNA is DAP is mainly used by Apple, and softwares like iTunes use DAP servers to share their media over the LAN, whereas DLNA can be used for any kind of devices, even for Apple devices. So just a minute. Okay. Okay, so my contributions until now. Until now I've added support for the DLNA source, and as you can see in the image, there are two views. The first one is the album view, and the one which is below it is the song view. Here we have created a unified view where the media from all the sources are present. So you can see you can see the album from my local media, my local file system, and the album from my DLNS server are both in the same views. So what are the what next up in the line? I'm mainly using Raggle for my DLNA server, and I need to fix some of the things in Raggle so that it can work properly with music. And like I added support for DLNA, I also have to add support for DAP. And while I'm adding support for DAP, I also have to I also have to do some changes in Brillo plugin so that it can uh, work well with the DAB support. I mean DAB source. And then like I mentioned, I also have to implement the search customization. Okay, that's it. Thanks.
Thank you. Let's continue now with the next presenter.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So my project, my mentors are Claudia Wander and Caroline Henriksen, and my advisors are Brit and Christy. I won't try to pronounce their surnames, but let's get started. So the project originally started by the need of the main GNOME website to be closer to what GNOME represents. And that's because we want people to feel interested about GNOME and give it a try. And we want to encourage people to contribute and be part of the community. And yeah, we wanted to give a look like, make it look like something more friendly and inviting and welcoming. So moving to this direction, the initial goal was to redesign the main website to make it look more consistent and modern and welcoming. But in addition to the GNOME.org website, GNOME has lots of websites to serve the community needs. We have extensions, the Developer Center, Planet, events, surveys, shop, Etherpad, and so on. And all of them, they look similar, but they don't actually follow the same style guides. Like they look slightly different from each other. And so the goal from the project changed it to create a UI library that that met the needs of all of the GNOME websites, so that the people responsible for each one of the websites they could reuse the same elements and components and make them look consistent. And to achieve that, we had these small steps. We had to make an assessment of the website's current state and decide on the components we had to build, and then we had to design everything and choose the library to send from, and code and document the library, and etc. Those are some mock-ups I had to create. Those are the colors, some of them, and the typography. This is a mock-up I created for the main website for the front page. And yeah, I had to decide as well a library to extend from, and I chose Tailwind because it's an utility-first CSS framework that it doesn't provide pre-built components, so I don't have to overwrite everything from a library like Bootstrap or pure CSS, and I can use the two to build my own library. So I'm currently building the library using Tailwind CSS. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. So let's continue. Right, the next presenter got the rights.
Hello, can you hear me properly?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Jose. I'm glad to be here talking about my Google Summer of Code project. The title is on the slide, Battery Bench, Bringing Battery Testing Back to the Future. And my mentor is Christian, who is one of the main repository maintainers. Also here is Garnacho that helps us inside the GNOME shell chat with the project. Talking about myself, I did a double degree in computer science and business management that I finished in 2018, 3 master degrees to relate to business administration, 1 international businesses, and 1 in financial audit, and 1 related to computer science, concretely to the field of artificial intelligence. Currently, I'm doing my PhD at the University of Las Palmas de Gran Canaria, where I did my degrees. And it is about new applications of artificial intelligence in business programming, starting with the measurement and prediction of social responsibility related to the employment. About my previous experience in open source, I participated in Google Summer of Code in 2017 with WX WidGet project. In short, it was a project about improving JavaScript execution in C++. Talking about the project, Battery Bench is a battery testing software that helps the user to check how having application open, using peripherals, and doing something with the keyboard or mouse impacts on battery usage. The main feature and benefit of this application is to record and track battery and energy consumption with the goal of reducing those. To do that, you can develop and run tests to measure the impact, recording keyboard and mouse events mainly. Our main objective is improving battery life performance in future versions of GNOME. To achieve this, one of the main milestones is to have the application working on Wayland. That is, you can record and run tests on this Windows system. Now, the AT software works for X11, but with the change to Wayland, it needs to support it. Other things we can plan to achieve during the summer is solving issues on the book tracker, like logging issues and tiny things and clean code. Finally, in August, where if we have time, we try to tracking the power consumption with Power Grid web app and track power saving performance with in the systems. Because Wayland doesn't have a native way to record the user because of security reasons, we have implemented it with live EV dev, that interact with EV devices to deal with the mouse and keyboard. Next to the kernel level, the usage is simple. You need to select your device to the from the event file and check what is ready. Next, you query the next event available on the device. If it's available, you read the event and get event type, name, code, etc. That allows us to know what the user does with the input peripherals and record and reproduce them later to check the battery usage and of that movement. And that is my presentation. You have the blog of the project on the slide, and my LinkedIn. If you have any question or proposal for the improvement, I would be happy to read them. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you. Mariana is next.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so how can I pass the slides? Oh, okay. So hello everyone, my name is Mariana. I'm working on the Shell project. Florian is my mentor, and we're working on the notification for Power Redesign. So let's get started. So the project. This project aims to bring a fresher design to the calendar pop-up that we have currently. So we will do that by updating how the notifications are displayed. Currently, they are just displaying in a stack or something. So the idea is to group them, the apps, on stacks, and make actions available on each message, and not just on the banners anymore. here's a concept made by Tobias. Hi, Tobias. Here we can see an example of a group. We have like four more notifications, 2 more notifications, and an example of a single one notifications as the media controls as well. Oh, I actually forgot to mention about the weather redesign. So for the first milestone, we have a complete redesign of the layout. So we have a new bubble notification layout, and we also have a new layout for the previous one that I've shown you from the design made by Tobias. Here's some examples of how it is looking right now. So we have a new weather section, a new media player control, and a regular notification as well. Here's an example of how it's looking right now. So keep in mind that this could change. So for the second milestone, which we are working on it right now. Okay, 1 minute. So we are grouping the notifications actually, and on previous versions of GNOME were already had these groups represented on code. So we just reused that logic, but we need a way to represent the groups on the layouts. So right now, and to do that, to reflect the groups on the UI, we have to create a custom layout manager. So this way we can add animations and collapse and expand effects, and so on. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's continue with the next one. There we are. All right, you should be granted permissions now.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Hi, I'm Neville Anthony. I've been working on GNOME games as part of the Google Summer of Codes program. I've been mentored by Alexander Mikalengo. Okay, so talking a bit about the project, I've been working on GNOME games. It's a symbol game launcher and front end for various game emulators. So it lists all of your Steam games, your natively installed games, your ROMs for several emulators, and so on. As I said, it's maintained by Alexander Mikalengo. It's also the first open source project I've ever contributed to. Okay, so before getting into the implementation details, so why are collections needed? It helps us organize our games in our own ways. So as a result, you get to your games faster. It also helps the application suggest or generate smart collections. For example, recently played collections. So the app knows which game you played last, so it suggests maybe you want to play this game, and so on. So with these in mind, we came up with 3 different types of collections. So favorites collection to keep all of our favorite games, recently played to keep track of our recently played games, and user collections, so we could define our own collections, and any other types of collection that comes along to it. So my progress as of now, the first thing that I start with is to implement a selection mode. So when you enable selection mode, you get to see the checkboxes on each games. You get to select whichever games you want, and you have the actions below at the selection action bar, and currently you get to mark the selected games as favorite. So also, by the way, the action depends on the selected list of games. So if all of the games are favorite, it marks it as, it removes it from the favorites. If none of them are favorite, it adds them to favorite, and so on. You get to select all or none of the games. You get to search and cancel, and so on. The next thing to do was implement a collections page. So you get to see all of your collections over here, and you get to the collection thumbnails are generated from the games that belong to the collection. So you get to see the first 4 collections or first 4 games in the cover, and and on clicking each collection, you get to see the games that belongs to that each collection. So you get to see them over here. You could also see the name of the collection over there. You get to search. You still get to do selection operations. You get to go back, and so on. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. So Norbert is next.
Hello.
Hello.
So my name is Norbert. And actually, I'm not from Google Summer of Code. I'm an intern at Red Hat since February. My mentor is Daiki Ueno, and I want to thank you for all of his support since I'm at the company. Okay, so my project is about implementing proxy FIDO2. FIDO2 is a project for more secure authentication to the web. This can be like applications or just a website or something. So there is the library libfido2, which works for communication between the authentication device and the client application. And I was implementing this library to be a proxy server. So there is a problem with that. That the library directly communicates with the authentication key, the authenticator. So if we have a isolated environment on a host machine, for example, like a Flatpak or Sandbox, then it cannot access directly the hardware. So it needs like a bridge or something to connect it with the host machine. And the project solves that problem by creating a server that is run on the host machine and a client library that can be used in applications doing that kind of authenticating. And it actually communicates through dbus. How does it look like? So there is two main functions that the authenticated device can do. First one is for registering, for example, to our website, and the device creates a credential, which is then saved to the user account. The second one, when, for example, the user wants to log in, then the site just sends a challenge, which can be signed with the credential created beforehand. So current status is that we have a working server implementation, and the next stage will be working on the client library. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's continue.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, welcome everybody. I'm Nuruddin. I'm an undergrad student studying computer engineering. My project during this summer of code is to implement a new module for Evolution Data Server, to implement an ETE sync module to enable ETE sync users to add their account to Evolution. I'm doing this with the help of my mentors, Milan, who is the maintainer of Evolution and Evolution Data Server, and Tom, who is one of the developers in ETE sync. They're cool guys, they helped me a lot. So yeah, thank you. Okay, so first, what is Evolution Data Server? Evolution Data Server is basically a collection of libraries and services for storing address books and calendars. So it has this backend interface that clients can connect to implement their backend. The most known client is the Evolution program. Evolution is a personal information management application that provides integrated mail, calendaring, and address book functionalities. It also has tasks and memo taking features. You just add your account to Evolution, and then you'll be able to control all of these. Okay, so as I said earlier, I'm supposed to implement an ETE sync module. So what is ETE sync? EDSync is an end-to-end encrypted synchronizing service that allows the users to sync their contacts, calendars in an end-to-end encrypted way. So ensuring only the user can get or see his data, so anyone who actually has access to it get the user's data. And since EDSync has its client and server code open source, so anyone can use the to self-host his own server ESync so what have I done so far this project? Have finished the authentication functionalities. So now Evolution and EDSync users can Evolution and choose new collection account. You can see enter their username, and if you click on advanced, you can enter a server URL. Cloud servers. If an account and the users just account to this dialog will pop up asking the user to enter password that will encrypt their data. And after that, upon verification, then the user will be able to retrieve his data. So as you can see, the reading functionality, the polling functionality is working. So you retrieved all the journals, and in it you have your data. What else has been finished? The writing functionality, you can add, delete, modify the data inside the journal. For example, the address book, you can add a contact or delete, modify a contact, but you cannot create a new address book or delete an existing one. So that's what I'm going to be working on next. Plus other initialization for the accounts, for the new accounts, and other fixes and stuff. So yeah, that's my topic. Thanks everyone.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So now size should be made presenter. We don't hear you.
I think they're not there.
Okay, so let's keep
Wait.
get back here.
They don't have the mic access. Can you rejoin with the mic side?
Hello.
Oh, there we go.
Am I audible now?
Yes, you are.
Okay, sorry. I muted it by mistake.
No worries.
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is S.I. Vineet. This summer, I'm working on the application called JIT-G, which is a GUI application for exploring JIT repositories. I am under the mentorship of Alberto Fanjul, who is an amazing person, by the way, and has been helping me throughout the experience. So I'd like to get to my project now. So JIT-G is a tool for exploring the history of a repository and making actions on it. So one major plugin that JIT-G uses is known as the Files plugin, which allows you to browse the files as they had been in the state of some commit. So in that Files plugin, there is this tree view, which you can select files and they show up in this GTK source view. So the issue is with that tree view, it's very slow to load large repositories. So for the first task of my GSOC was to make this faster, make this loading faster. And this was to facilitate the idea that one of the major use cases for JIT-G is to explore the history of one file throughout the repository's history. So the idea was to once you expand these tree view directories, it's to retain that selection across changing commits. When you change the selected commit, the tree should remain the same, and hopefully it should reload fast. So during this summer of code, I found this library known as libdazzle, which is used by GNOME Builder, built by Christian Herbert, which is an amazing library, by the way. So I used the lazy loaded tree view called Dazzle tree, and I subclassed it and added some necessary improvements as required. and I'm happy to say that it's almost done. We are currently writing tests, and it should be done in about a week or so, and then we'll just polish up. So that's my project for Google Summer of Code, and I'd like to thank the GNOME community for welcoming me, and it has been an amazing experience attending this GUADEC. Thank you.
Thank you. We are glad to have you. So now our last intern presenter.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, I'm audible.
Yes, you are.
Okay. Hello, everyone. So I am Ujjwal Kumar, and in this summer, I am contributing to LibHandy library, and my mentor for this project is Adrian. And LibHandy is a library which is basically a GTK-based library, and it contains all sorts of widgets for developing modern adaptive GNOME apps. And it has recently been shifted from, I think, Purism's GitLab servers to GNOME GitLab servers in the month of May. And the major contributors include Adrian, who is the maintainer, and then Alexander also contributes to this, and some other people who are involved with this library are Tobias and Bilal, and so in this library as a GSOC project, the related issue in this project is issue number 128, and this is about implementing a new widget, which is basically a grid widget. But and we do have a grid widget with our GTK library, but it's non-adaptive. So it's basically if you want to lessen the width of your applications, then they won't go further along after this point. But with our implementation of a grid library, which we possibly will be naming HDY grid, and that is short for handy grid, and that will be adaptive. So you can further you will be able to shorten the width of your applications, and the widgets will realign themselves. So you see this is one row of widgets, and this is another row of widgets, and then they can be aligned. The widgets are shifted automatically, and they can have different positions. So this is one way of repositioning. This is the other way of repositioning. And so about our progress, we have started with handling single rows. So the related MR is 530, and if you have any suggestions and you want to go through the details of the projects, you can visit that link. Now till up to this point, we have successfully tested and our single row implementation, and now currently we are with our multiple rows handling task, and then which will finally make it an grid widget. And with that, this is my project for GSOC 2020. Thank you.
Thank you. So this was the last presenter from our interns. And as I said before at the beginning, today we're going to have past interns presenting about their experiences after GSOC. Oops, I have the alarm. Before I get to it, I want to remind everybody to complete the second evaluation in Google Summer of Code. Both students and mentors need to complete this time. You have all the way to Friday, but please do it as soon as possible because it's hard to find you on Friday. And yeah, let's continue now with past GSOC interns. So I will start with myself. Let me put myself the time, so to be fair to everybody. Oops, my cat just jumped. So my name is Felipe Borges, and I've been contributing to GNOME for about 10 years now. And I want to tell you my story that when I started, I bought this supermarket computer that was the cheapest one on Walmart. And it came with Linux because the vendor was trying to cheapen the price of Linux. the computer by putting Linux on it. It was still the time where we were disputing the licensing included on the price and whatnot, but it was a terrible computer, and we didn't have internet at home. So I had to play around, click all the buttons, see all the options, and that was my rainy day activity mostly. I didn't speak English at the time, and I used to have a textbook next to myself when I was reading the things on the computer and taking notes. And using Linux with GNOME at the time had taught me a lot of English. And later on, I started to be able to go to a library and research for things there, take a note in my textbook, and come back home. And this is when I realized that open source was a thing, or free software was a thing, and I was actually able to change the code of this. So I did some bizarre stories about going to the library of the school and taking notes of the code that I should write, and then get back home and find out that I wrote something wrong, back and forth. And finally, I managed to get internet at home and learn more about GNOME. I would spend my whole nights reading about this. I was really obsessed. And I decided to contribute with the translation team. Since I was learning English, I thought it was a good way for me to learn. And I started to get involved with a local Linux user group. It's called Chill Linux. It's a group in my state in Rio Grande do Sul that travels in universities in the state speaking about Linux and open source. So we used to get into buses and stay 20 hours in a row to be able to give a talk in a university and then get 20 hours back because we haven't had a place to sleep. This whole open source culture and things is exactly what made me interested in contributing to open source and learning how to code and becoming a computer scientist. So I started to study computer science because of GNOME, because it was my first contact with computers at all. It was kind of a late timing. I was 15, 16 when I used a computer for the first time. And since I started contributing in the university, I got involved in GNOME documents. I had great mentors helping me out. And in 2012, I went to GUADEC for the first time. It was my first time in a plane, first time out of my country. It was a great experience in the sense of me being able to see the world from a different perspective. Like considering the economical situation we had at the time, it was something unthinkable with all the sponsorship. So this opened a huge horizon of things for me, and I started to work as a part-time during my studies. So I got a contract with a company in Brazil that was providing service for Endless. So I was working on writing some apps for Endless OS. And then I graduated, and I finally got a job at Red Hat, which was my dream job right from the beginning since I started contributing to GNOME, because I would be paid to work full-time on open source software that I love. And for the past 5 years, I traveled from another continent. I am from Brazil, but now I live here in the Czech Republic. And I left everything behind because I wanted to pursue this dream about being an open source hacker, like everybody who I saw at the beginning when I was starting. And now this year I got elected to the board of directors, which was also one of my greatest goals in life, which is to finally be recognized in the GNOME community. So I'd like to thank everybody for participating and for helping on developing me, not just professionally, but also personally, because I wouldn't have become the person I am now without the help of the GNOME community. The GNOME community are currently my friends, the people I go out with, the people I text everybody. I really talk GNOME 24/7, and I'm very thankful for this opportunity. So next, now I have my friend Gaurav speaking. Let me find you, Gaurav, in the list.
Hello. Yeah, I'm there. Thank you, Khalid.
You can go.
So, yeah, I'm Gaurav Agarwal. I'm a foundation member, and I did my GSOC with the project DG. Sorry, I missed it in the slide. So when I was doing my GSOC post that, I had a really background just like Philippe had, so a little bit better than that. But with GNOME, I was able to meet the open source people. So it's just like my journey from being nothing to knowing a lot of things. So I learned a lot of things at GNOME. So for example, things like how to contribute to a production type of code, and how to use Git, how to talk with, sometimes also how to talk with people, and how to express what you want to say. So it's just like a 360-degree development for myself. I got all of these things at GNOME. And my mentor, Alberto Fangul, used to say that it doesn't matter if a lot of people join us. It's just that we want to retain, even if a single person learns us and contributes back, it's really great for us. So that is why I try to get this idea and stick around, and I try to think that if somebody helped me, then I should help others as well, and that's why I'm involved with a lot of initiatives which are mostly directed towards the newcomers. So that is one bigger goal of mine, being in the community. And of course, for me as well, my first foreign trip was from GNOME. I got to go to attend the GNOME Asia. Sadly, I was not able to attend GUADEC and meet a lot of uh, people there. So yeah, that's how I think GNOME helped me out, and I still have a lot of friends here. I also talk with a lot of people here, and most of my day goes out on chats, IRC, and everything. So yeah, really grateful for this community, and I'm trying to give back as much as I could do. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So now our next speaker is Priyanka. She's in the list. Yeah, there you go.
Hello. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay. So, hi, I'm Priyanka Sagu. I was an Outreachy intern under GNOME Foundation in the December 2019 to March 2020 internship cohort. During the internship, I worked on the GNOME application GNOME translation editor. Currently, I'm working as a DevOps engineer at this DataOps organization, Atlan. And yeah, I'm still in the very process of learning and exploring my ways. About the project, GNOME Translation Editor, also known as GTranslator, is an enhanced GetX PO editor for the GNOME desktop environment. It handles all form of GetX PO files and includes a bundle of useful features like find replace, translation memory, different translators profile, message table, and easy navigation and editing of translation messages. During the internship, even like before the internship, I have worked on revamping few of the existing widgets from the application in accordance with GNOME human interface guidelines. During the internship, I worked on entirely redesigning the old search and replace bar dialog to a new sliding overlay style widget using the libdazzle library. So from the mentors from the community during the Outreachy project, Daniel Garcia Moreno and Daniel Mustelius, they were my mentors. Both of them were incredibly kind and giving in terms of both their time and knowledge and encouragement. I would like to take a moment more to thank Danny GM for all his time that he spent solving my doubts, leading me to the right things whenever I reached him. And Daniel Mustelius, being the most kind person, he had always been a source of inspiration and motivation even after I finished the internship. Apart from Outreachy support I received during the internship, the community folks otherwise also to have been very incredibly great. I got a chance to have a conversation with Muricy Sanchez and Felipe. I'm grateful for their insightful words. Thank you so much, Felipe, for organizing it and giving me this chance to speak for the first time, and that too at GUADEC. I have a couple of points for the aspiring folks. I'll say don't hesitate to apply. Just apply. Give your best possible amount of time. Never hesitate to ask people, talk to them, share your concerns with them, share what you are thinking. Just ask people if they could help you or you could help them back in some way. And never take your opportunities for granted. Just don't procrastinate to apply and start talking to them. It will definitely help you. And you can connect with me at these portals. I have a write-up around my Outreachy journey at this link. That's pretty much all about it. Congratulations to the current interns. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I think it's important to highlight what Priyanka just said about encouraging newcomers to take the attitude and apply, because the intention of bringing these past GSOCers to talk here is specifically about motivating new interns to pursue careers in free and open source software, because it's possible. There are various people in our community, I can see here from the chat even, that have been past Google Summer of Code or Outreachy interns, and they are now working full-time, sometimes not working directly on GNOME, but technologies that are around GNOME. So there are opportunities, and you should seek for these opportunities because you're very qualified because of your open source experience, with your knowledge of the open source development model. So let's continue with more presenters. Okay, I set Sonia as the next presenter.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hey, hi. Cool, wait. Okay, I also can't find where to go to the next slide. Oh, right. Okay, sorry. Yeah, so hi. My name is Sonia. I'm a PhD mathematician and have recently started programming and did an Outreachy internship half a year ago at Fractal, what I'm going to talk about, and about what I did there and about what I've been doing since then. So I'm going to share my screen now to show you what I did at Fractal. Is it working? Can you see my screen? I hope so.
Yes, we can.
So this is Fractal, the way it was before I started my internship. Fractal is a pretty cool metrics client. Or for those who maybe don't know metrics, it's like, let's say, an application to chat. So here you have your people you can chat with, and this is just one conversation. Here you can see how media was treated in Fractal before I started the internship. So audio could already be played inside Fractal. Whereas for video, video was like treated as a generic file, let's say. So you had to download it and then play it with an independent app. So what I did during my internship was the following. So on one hand, the audio design got a little bit better, but most importantly, I implemented the video player inside Fractal. So now when there's a video message inside the room, it gets played muted. And then when you click on it, it gets opened in the media viewer. And when you move the mouse, well, you have this pretty simple control bar. Yeah, so for those who are interested, this implemented in GStreamer, all the media on Fractal, and Fractal in general in Rust. And both were like really interesting to learn, as well as GTK. Yeah, here we go. Cool. So yeah, that's what I've just told you. I've implemented that video player and some general media improvements. And at the very end, I also started implementing one-to-one calls, which was also very interesting. I didn't quite finish, though. I'm still working on it, so I guess at some point, hopefully it will be there. And really thanks a lot to both my mentors, Danielle and Jordan, who were really great, have answered me all my questions very helpfully and very patiently. And I'm really glad I had you both. It was really nice. And also thanks to Tobias, who helped me, like not only helped me, he designed the whole design I've implemented, and to the whole Fractal community. So what am I doing now? I've actually found a job in open source, which I'm really happy with. I didn't think I would be able to do it, but I'm also at the beginning of the pandemic, and it was really thanks to my internship, because I think so, because before the internship, I almost didn't have any programming experience, and I didn't have any open source experience. So I really encourage people who want to get into open source to start with an internship and then just try, as Priyanka was saying. And also I try to keep on involved in Fractal, not as much by far as I would like to, but well, once in a while I do some things. I fix some bugs that come up in the context of the things I did, and I sometimes fix small things like that I just run into randomly. And I keep on working on those one-to-one calls I mentioned before. Also, Felipe, I think when I was sharing my screen, maybe I couldn't see you saying 1 minute, or? Is there still time left?
Yeah, you have.
Is there still time left?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, cool. So what to take away? Well, the Outreachy internship was like really great for me because I didn't know GStreamer, GTK, or Rust, and I learned all of them a little bit, like just to a certain extent, but it was really interesting and great. And also I encourage to the ones who already know some things to mentor, because you can just help a random person out there, and the ones who not, well, just to intern. And also, even if you don't have much time after your internship, well, I've kept on doing smaller contributions, which I think is still better than nothing due to lack of time. So yeah, that's it. Thanks to the organizers for this opportunity to share these things, and to everyone for listening.
Thank you for your contribution, Signal. So now we have our final presenter. Aaron should be made presenter now.
Hello. I hope you can hear me fine.
Yes, we can.
Excellent. Thanks. All right. Hey, everyone. I'm Arun Raghavan, and I'm going to quickly go over my experiences with GNOME and my trajectory from the summer of code onwards. I'm really dating myself with this first slide, but I started installed Linux first when I was in high school and started tinkering with it. From that on into college, started speaking at my local Linux user groups, and started organizing a conference called FOSS.in and other conferences. And so this was all great, and I think that was impactful. But being an engineer, I also wanted to be able to contribute in code. And when I was back in college again in 2007, I'd already known of the summer of code. It seemed like a good structured way to be able to make those kinds of contributions. And so I applied to the summer of code. I worked on this project called Beagle that I don't know if any of you have heard of, but it's kind of a desktop search tool similar to what Tracker does today. I implemented a cross-desktop search specification, so KDE and GNOME applications could do search on either platform without having to worry about cross-platform things. I finished that, and then I started helping maintain libbeagle, which was the C Beagle bindings. And I had great mentors that helped me really start contributing and continue helping even after the project when I was taking up maintainership. And this is a theme throughout my experience with GNOME and other projects, which is the people who really helped me learn and have sort of a really excellent experience around this. After this, I worked on the Gen 2 Linux distribution, and I helped with GNOME packaging. I'd also just finished my master's degree. I started working at a company doing embedded work, and it was mostly Linux kernel, U-boot things, but it was very inward facing. We weren't doing a lot of community work, and I really wanted to do that. So in 2009, after I was still helping organize FOSS.in, I knew some folks who had come there from the Gen 2 community, and again, in my first trip outside the country, I went to GUADEC, which was the desktop summit in Gran Canaria in 2009, and I met a bunch of folks who eventually I ended up working with professionally. So I joined an open source consulting firm called Collabora Multimedia, and I started getting involved in Pulse Audio and GStreamer, both professionally and in my free time. And then I started helping make upstream contributions to this project, and then I started helping maintain Pulse Audio eventually as a result of this. And today, for the last 6 years now, I've been running my own small open source consultancy. I work on Pulse Audio, GStreamer, other aspects, both related to GNOME and otherwise in the Linux desktop environment. And I still really care about having a free computing environment for everybody. And I am very, very incredibly thankful to all of you and all the people in this community who are helping realize this dream. I hope that all of you find something from this experience, like I did, to be truly grateful for, that really changed my life, at least with regards to how I'm able to achieve the things that I've always dreamed of. Yeah. So yeah, that's it from me.
Thank you. That's really inspiring. I'd like to thank everybody for coming to watch the talks today. It's a pity we are not physically at the same place, so we could hug each other like usual. But I hope everybody get to know that our interns are usually like struggling to complete things, so they need help from mentors. So please offer your hand, say hi to them on IRC and other chats when you meet them. And don't forget, complete your Google Summer of Code evaluations. And thanks for coming for GUADEC. I hope you folks enjoyed, and see you all next year, I guess. Bye-bye.